Hello, everybody. It's Andrew Hutchings here, and I'm not a licensed physician. I'm just a scientist, and you don't get licensed to be a scientist. Just you are one or you're not. But I do also have a degree in biochemistry and molecular biology, and I chose that degree because it's what actually represents my knowledge and specialty. Considering that I started studying chemistry and biology when I was like 15 years old. So I was unable to sleep, and I actually ended up watching a 20-minute long YouTube video, which is rare because I don't find very many. I mean, occasionally I'll find a good video, but this video was very true, and maybe I'll just put a link to it. And I don't want you to think I'm copying him. I watched it all the way through because it confirmed everything I already thought. And no, yes, I've been in the situation myself actually where I've had a lot of damage done to me by going to the doctor rather than just not going to the doctor. But what I'm going to talk about is the fact that things like cancer, for example, bodily issues that people go to the doctor for that they think are so horrible and they're gonna kill them and stuff. Every human body has issues. So if you go looking for things, you're gonna find them. It just depends on how hard you look. Those things don't, most of them don't matter. Guess what? Even if you get cancer, chances are your body's gonna get rid of it. Now that may sound crazy, but it's true. You're technically probably developing cancer every, I don't know exactly how often, but pretty often you get little bits of cancers in your various parts of your body, and your immune system gets rid of them. That's how it's just like you get little tiny infections all the time, and your immune system gets rid of them. There's other ways that your body can get rid of cancers. But I think the immune system is really the key to it. And that's not just my thoughts, that's actually backed up by current science. And sadly, it was ignored for like 100 years. Even though, like 100 years ago, scientists, true scientists and doctors like myself, not these people that go to school and get a stupid license and then think that they are knowledgeable and capable, real scientists and doctors 100 years ago experimented with injecting pathogens into tumors. Now, why on earth would you inject bacteria or other pathogens into a person who already has a problem? Perhaps some of them thought, maybe this pathogen will kill the tumor itself. But perhaps some of them also realized that the issue of having a tumor is that your body is not getting rid of it. The issue isn't that it's growing uncontrollably. The issue is that your body isn't preventing it from growing uncontrollably, and that your body is letting it be there at all. It may sound like the same thing, but it's not. It doesn't matter if something is growing uncontrollably if you just kill it. Yeah, it doesn't matter. But when your body doesn't realize that it's even there, now you got a problem. So by injecting a pathogen into the tumor that your body could recognize, they actually got some of the tumors to be killed off by the body. Today in our modern medicine, we know about cells, surface receptors and such, and the various aspects of the immune system, and we know how this works. And yeah, actually, I was talking to a relative of mine who's connected to McDonald's Cancer Foundation called the Ronald McDonald Houses, and her daughter had leukemia and was supposed to die very, very young, and she ended up living till she was like, I don't know exactly how old, like 45. And my aunt actually told me recently that, because I was telling her about the immune system and how I think within a few years, as long as we focus on it and we map everything out, that cancer should be a routine. I mean, cancers that you need to treat should be very, very easy to treat, and we should have like a 98% success rate and very little damage to the body, because we just either get the immune system to recognize, we alter the immune cells to recognize the cancer, or we alter the cancer cells so that the immune system can recognize them. She was telling me how, um, actually, one of so she's not, she's my great aunt, so it's like my second cousin. How one of her doctors, like 20 or 30 years ago, actually thought that perhaps the reason she was living longer than everyone else was her immune system. Perhaps he was right. Perhaps he wasn't. We'll never know. But yes, every human body has a litany of issues going on, but most of them are non-problematic, or they self-correct, or they're auto-terminated. So when you go in getting every single test, plus everything's changing every single day. Like I love getting blood work done, but if I get bad blood work, I'm not gonna freak out. Like, actually, I did get a little bit worried about my cholesterol, um, well, especially because I tested it 3 times, and all 3 times it was pretty bad. But overall, I am not too worried about it. But I like getting tons of blood work done. But like when I saw that my blood cells are outside of the normal ranges and the sizes of them are wrong and there's not enough size distribution of my blood cells, it's like, why? I don't care. It's not going to affect me. It doesn't matter. At the same time, you have doctors that overlook things, like when I tore ligaments in my shoulder when I was 16. I don't remember exactly how many doctors, but I had many doctors tell me that doesn't happen to 16-year-olds. So you do have the flip side to this also. But very often you have doctors, they take a scan or they do a test, like, whoa, you got all these problems. We need to start treating you right away. And the treatment is worse than if you just ignored it, and your body probably fixes it next week, next month, next year, next 5 years, or whatever. Of course, there's a chance that your body won't fix it. But yeah, the body is actually meant to deal with its own problems. It always has problems. It just has to keep them from becoming problematic problems. What I mean by that is there are abnormalities, however, they're not going to negatively affect you. And your body can get rid of them or correct them before they will negatively affect you. There are rare cases where you can have like a gigantic tumor that's massively growing that your body can't recognize and it's going to kill you. But for the most part, if a doctor says that, oh, your body can't fix this stuff, it's not true, because humans didn't make it all these millions of years by having a human body that can't fix any of its own problems. Does that make any sense at all? No, it doesn't. So it's actually an exception, not the rule, that when you spot a problem, that it's actually going to be problematic. Now, of course, if you do everything in your power to push your body to not be able to fix it, like you don't exercise, you don't sleep well, you're stressed, you don't eat well, you don't drink enough water, and you drink a ton of alcohol, and you do every possible, then of course your chances of that becoming problematic are going to go up. So yeah, that's pretty much it. And if you go scanning the whole body, you'll find problems, because there's always problems. Doesn't mean they're going to be problematic, doesn't mean they're going to end your life. Even if they are problematic, it depends on how problematic they are versus other things. Like the video I was watching mentioned, and it's just common sense, is like, say you have, I'll actually use a real example. I know someone close to me, I'll just not say specifics, just to be safe, who had, over the last few years, many, many strokes and heart attacks, and like every cardiovascular issue you can imagine, and seemed like he had a few year life expectancy. Um, so by doing an experimental treatment that I thought of, which could potentially cause cancer, like 20, 30, 40 years down the line, he was already over 60, looking like he's gonna drop dead tomorrow, possibly. I mean, when you've had like, I'm always aware. I heard noises. One time when I was subconsciously training myself to instantly attack, my mom actually got up at 5 a.m. like she does for work, but I was training my brain. And while asleep, I actually jumped out of my bed, screaming or roaring or whatever exactly you would call it, and swung open my door and opened my eyes and realized, oh no, there's no threat. That was a very good success. Um, I say that because that's pretty cool that I trained my brain until I heard a slight noise in the middle of the night, and while asleep, I got up to disarm it. And that also, I instantly realized the second I confronted the possible threat that it was not a threat while asleep. Now, I did wake up after jump. I really don't even know how, like, 'cause I had my sheets. I don't usually sleep with a blanket. Like I said, I was asleep, so I don't remember exactly how I just, like, launched out of bed. Yeah, that's getting off topic, but I find that extremely cool, and I would like to subconsciously teach myself some other things. Um, so what was that? Oh yeah, the experimental treatment. So yeah, if somebody very much looks like they could drop dead of a heart attack tomorrow, and I literally mean tomorrow, like this guy could have just dropped dead any day. He was having heart attacks, minor heart attacks every few days, major heart attacks, occasionally strokes all the time. Um, and there was this experimental treatment that I thought up, and he went to a doctor about it, and the doctor refused to even talk to him about it. Said that it's not approved, that blah, 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 and he got all angry. It's like, he could literally just die while you're talking to him, and you're gonna just completely discount this treatment that actually could greatly reduce his cholesterol and hopefully the plaque in his arteries. Like, are you retarded or something? Sorry for the people who don't like that word. I mean, I'm not actually sorry, but yeah, stop being offended by words. Retarded means you are held back. A doctor who doesn't realize that someone who could literally drop dead while they're talking to them should try an experimental treatment that may give him cancer in 20, 30, 40 years, they are definitely mentally retarded and held back from good thoughts. I actually go out of my way to not use that word in these videos just because I know how YouTube is and people are nowadays, but in real life, not on video, I do not censor myself and I will not censor myself. That is something I live by. I do not censor my words. The day we all censor our words is the day we're no longer free. I'll leave it at that. So yeah, I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist. I'm sure you agree that if somebody could literally just drop dead while you're talking to them, because that's how bad they are, that they should try something that's gonna possibly kill them 40 years down the line. And the same thing goes, like, say you have cancer, but it's not gonna kill you for like 100 years. Why on earth would you poison your body, blast it with radiation, and do all sorts of crazy stuff if that cancer's not gonna kill you before you die of natural old age? Who knows? Maybe if it's not even gonna kill you before old age, maybe you're gonna get in a car accident and die. Maybe you're just gonna walk across the street and get hit by a car and die. Maybe in 10 years, your body's gonna recognize it and kill the cancer, and then you don't even have that cancer. Um, can't see how likely that is after. Well, I mean, it depends on how. Maybe it was just a little bit of cancer. But like if it was a massive cancer that already had grown to a very big degree and metastasized, then I don't think your body's going to just happen to start recognizing it 10 years later. But if it was like just what maybe they would call pre-cancer or like small cancer, but basically if it was a not very big cancer that wasn't already metastasized, um, yeah, you could wait 10 years and your body 10 years later, you don't have it. Um, I don't know why we don't focus enough on this stuff, and probably because it makes a lot more money to make people go through every single test and then do every single treatment. I mean, insurance companies literally have a list of treatments. I know this because when I had all my injuries, I could not get the treatments I wanted going through my insurance because I had to first do this one, then do this one, then do this one. All the meanwhile, I was in extreme pain and suffering immensely. But I actually didn't. I'm very much in control of myself. And sadly, that was a bad thing because uh, doctors didn't think anything was wrong with me because I would go in with a pretty much straight face and not complain too much. I've learned now that you just gotta be like, if you actually have a real problem, uh, either be honest or pretend like you're a crybaby, pathetic person. Because if you are a dignified person who holds themselves together well, you will not receive treatment because they'll just go, oh, nothing can be wrong with you because if there was something wrong, you couldn't be like this. You would be in too much pain to be like this. And it's like, no, you would because you're not strong enough. I can be in this much pain and hide it. I can have all the things in my arm torn, and I can still push on your hand unless they're all fully torn and like there's literally nothing that can like it's physically mechanically impossible versus extremely difficult. I did so many tests where, oh, push on my arm, oh, push this way, and they're like, oh, well, if you had torn ligaments, you couldn't do that. And it's like, I could, your arm is nothing. I can press 100-pound dumbbell above my head. This was when I was 16. I mean, I didn't do too many so above my head, probably like 70, 80 pounds, but I could do incline or flat pressing 110s when I was 16 for like 9 to 11 reps. As I've said before, I am pretty much only as strong as I was when I was 16, or maybe a little tiny bit stronger. Largely because at 16 and a half, I got a series of injuries. First from wrestling, then from physical therapist, then from doctor who is now the head of orthopedics at a big hospital. And that was the worst thing because he gave me nerve damage. And that nerve damage makes your pain skyrocket. I mean, I was in pain before, but after I got direct nerve damage, I'll just leave it at that. So yes, obviously there is a flip side to everything, and many things are undiagnosed and untreated that should be, but at the same time, there are so many things that should not be treated because the treatment is worse than not treating it, and the problems aren't really problems. Uh, they're problems, but they're not problematic because there's always problems in your body. I mean, you can choose anything you want. You can decide, oh, my heart rate is 5 BPM above what it should be today, but tomorrow it's 5 BPM below what it should be. But what should it be? I mean, I actually am very kind of like OCD about my heart rate, but also because sometimes it does go up pretty high. And normally it's like 55, so uh, I think it's ridiculous how we use these standardized things because they don't actually work. Like by saying the average, like normal heart rate is between like 60 and 110 or 120, that's absolutely insane for a lot of people. My resting heart rate is 55. If my heart rate is 120, there's a problem. But if I went to a doctor, they'd be like, oh, well, that's just, slightly above normal. It's, oh, yeah, that's nothing, blah, blah, blah. But if my heart rate was, if I'm living at 55 BPM and all of a sudden it's going 120 and it's not going down, even when I'm sleeping or anything, there would be a problem. But you get some geniuses who go, oh, but the standard heart rate is 60 to 110 or 120 or whatever. Yeah, that's if you take an average out of everyone in the population, including the people who are super unhealthy and about to die. Averages don't matter. People matter. People are all individual. We all have our different bodies. No body can be compared to standards. That's why I tell people that even if they're going to do like anabolic steroids, which I can't recommend, I'm not a licensed physician, and I don't recommend you take them. Just personally, you should only take them if you need to heal things. But people go in and get blood work done, and they're measuring their blood work results against averages for whole populations. It's incredibly unvaluable. You need to measure against yourself and only yourself. And if you have no way of measuring against yourself, find your closest relatives. It's still going to be considerably different, but it's better than measuring against just every single person on the entire. I mean, imagine if you were to like measure your height against everyone else. I mean, height, you'd probably fall somewhere, and I don't know, but I think you understand the point that, like, for example, my testosterone is always right above the bottom cutoff line for low testosterone in the normal average range. Does it mean that I have a problem with testosterone and that I need to go on TRT and that I'm going to have issues if I don't? Does it mean that I actually have low testosterone? No, it does not. It means compared to everyone else on the planet Earth, if you take an average of them, that I'm lower compared to them, but obviously it works for my body chemistry and biology. Because if it didn't, I would have symptoms of low testosterone. And I do have a little bit of symptoms. I have bad recovery time, but I also do beat my body up a lot more than most people, so it's probably not bad recovery. It's probably just that I damage it a lot more by working out super hard. So yeah, I don't have symptoms of low testosterone. I have an amazing sex drive when I have an interest in it. Yeah, but if I go to a doctor, I could go on TRT because if I take two tests, one of them is going to come out below like the 450 cutoff line that they allow to prescribe TRT at most places. I thought about getting TRT, but then I saw that it was like $300 a month. It's like, no, screw that. I'm not going to pay $300 a month to try out TRT, because I didn't plan on being on it for life because of the reasons I just told you. I don't need it. But at the same time, you may have somebody who has the same exact testosterone levels as me, but who should have 3 times as much. They go in, they barely test in the normal range, and the doctor goes, "Oh, you're in the normal range, you're all good." It's like, no, they're not all good. That's not their normal range. That's the world population's average normal range. You have to go by your normal ranges. Hope you like this video. My website is andrewhutchings.org. The website making people seem to have ghosted me, and only the consultations page is working. That is what I like most, so schedule a consultation if you want. I'm not a licensed physician. I'm just a scientist, and we don't get licensed. I mean, I think you can get a license to work in a hospital, which I may end up doing. But in general, you don't get a license to be a scientist or whatever. Yeah, you can hire me. You can do a consultation for whatever you want, just not medical advice. Instead of giving you medical advice, which would be illegal, and I don't want legal trouble, I will just give you medical information so that you can make the most well-informed decisions about your own health, and I can give you my own opinion on what I would perhaps do if it were me or my family members. My Instagram is natural_true_fitness. I don't know when you'll be seeing this video, since YouTube likes to take down my videos and give me strikes against my accounts for providing medical misinformation. Hopefully that doesn't trigger an algorithm, because there's no misinformation in here. I literally had to write in some of my descriptions, "Do not delete these videos. I am an actual specialist in this stuff, and I have a degree." I don't care about degrees, but like for YouTube, I thought maybe if I tell them I actually do have a degree in it, that it will count for something. I even made a video about how masks do prevent the spread of coronavirus, and they took it down because I was saying in the video how not all masks do. Like, come on, we have to be pure propaganda machine? You can't waver 1 inch from the propaganda? Sad.